Hello there. Thank you for taking a moment to watch this video, and on this specific training, we're going to continue our Webhooks training module. And more specifically, we're going to talk about the call begin automated webhook. So first off, what is it? When does this get triggered? It gets triggered at the start of every call in a dial session. So if we were to open up a new tab here, let's go to our contact manager, and let's just jump into a dial session here real quick. So now that I'm connected to a dial session, you'll see I have 7 contacts queued up to be called. When I hit start dialing, as soon as we start to call this contact, that's when the call begin webhook would trigger. So if I click no answer here, and we start calling our next contact, that's when the call begin webhook would be sent. So let's go ahead and end this dial session. We'll leave this tab open. Let's jump back over to settings. Now let's start doing something with this. As I mentioned in our overview video, I'm actually going to be using Zapier for this training, but of course you don't have to use Zapier. You can use any system that you can generate a webhook URL in, or you can create your own webhook URLs with your dev team. So I'm going to jump over to Zapier, and I'm going to create a new Zap. I'm going to update the name of this Zap to be my call begin webhook. And the trigger is going to be a webhook. So I'm going to look for Webhooks by Zapier. And then the event is going to be a catch hook. Once I select that, I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. In my particular case, I'm going to go ahead and continue past this pick off a child key. Once I get to the testing step, you're going to see a URL. You're going to copy that URL and you're going to paste it into the call begin webhook box. And then we'll save changes. Once we save those changes, we can jump back over to our contacts and we can begin a dial session. Now let's go ahead and start dialing. Again, because it's a call begin webhook, the moment I started to call this first contact is when this information would have been sent to Zapier. So let's jump back over to the other browser. Let's go to Zapier and let's click the test trigger button. And here you can see the information that PhoneBurner sent to Zapier. I also want to point out that if we go back to our settings and we click on the example payload, you'll notice that what I'm seeing in Zapier looks prettier than what is displayed as the example payload in PhoneBurner. And the reason why it looks prettier here is because when I started this Zap, I chose catch hook and not catch raw hook. Had I done catch raw hook, it would not look as pretty. So let's jump back over to the test section. Here you can see this is the information that PhoneBurner sent to Zapier. Now what are we going to do with this information? Let's go ahead and hit continue. So now what are we going to do with this information? I'm going to be using Google Sheets for this training. So my action step is going to be Google Sheets. And we're going to create a new spreadsheet row on a Google Sheet that I've created for logging these call begin activities. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. I'm going to choose my PhoneBurner Google account, hit continue. I need to choose my drive. Now before I choose my spreadsheet, let me bring it over here. You can see I've got a new Google Sheet here. I'm going to update sheet 1. I'm going to change the name of this to call begin. And I'm going to want to log specific information into the sheet. So let's give ourselves some headers here. So here's a few examples. The name of the contact that's being called, the person who's calling the contact, the phone number that's being called, the contact ID, and the lead ID. Now, of course, this is just an example. You may want to capture more or less information, totally up to you. So let's jump back over to our Zap, and let's choose this spreadsheet and the worksheet. Right now there's only the one worksheet, the call begin worksheet. And once we've selected that worksheet, we'll see all of the column headers. Remember these column headers that we just created? We'll see those listed out here so that we can start putting data in there. So as you can see, we got our contact name, caller name, phone number, and contact ID. So let's start with contact name. Let's say we want to take the name information that came over from PhoneBurner through this webhook, and we want to feed that into this document. As you can see, PhoneBurner is going to send the first name and last name as two separate fields. But of course, we can combine it. We just select the first name, do space, and then choose the last name. And so the Zap will start feeding both the first and last name into this one cell in our Google Sheet. So the next thing is the caller name. Who made that call? In the webhook payload, this is known as the owner. So we're going to take the owner first name, space, owner last name. And of course, these can be separated in the Google Sheet if you want, or they can be combined. I'm just giving you an example here. And then the next thing that we had was the phone number. What phone number did we just start calling? So let's go ahead and grab the phone number. So we got the contact phone. And then the last option I have here is the contact ID. This is something that I highly recommend that you do anytime you're taking data out of PhoneBurner, is that you grab that contact ID, the PhoneBurner contact ID, and you store that in whatever system that you're pushing this data into. So this is the contact user ID. That's the record ID on the PhoneBurner system. You may never need that, but if you ever need to update a contact or find a specific contact on the PhoneBurner system, having that contact ID makes things so much faster, so much easier. Now, once you've mapped all of this information from the call begin webhook payload, you're ready to move on and test this. So I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. And let's test the action. Once we test this, we should see information fill into our Google Sheet, which we do see. This is the information. Sarah was called by Jeff, the phone number that was called, and the contact record ID. That was done through this little test. So now we can actually turn this on. Let's go ahead and publish that. And let's close out of that. Go here. Let me bring up my dial session window again. And let's start another call. So let's say Sarah was the wrong person. So I click the wrong person button and we move on to Kevin. Now let's move that over. And you'll see the moment I started calling Kevin, he popped up over here on our Google Sheet. If I click no answer and I move on to Monica, you'll see Monica is now on our Google Sheet. So this will happen in real time. Once you have that Zap turned on, PhoneBurner is going to send this information in real time. As soon as you start calling that contact, we're going to send that information to that webhook URL so it can be processed according to your settings. And of course, this is going to be running in the background every time you do a dial session once you add a webhook URL to the call begin section. Anyway, thank you for taking a moment to watch this video. I hope this helps you and your team get more done in less time using the power of PhoneBurner. Bye for now.